Hello students, this is Dr. Ravi Sani. Today we are going to discuss about the uh, another hormone of posterior pituitary part of the pituitary gland, that is oxytocin. Now we are discussing about the source of secretion. So oxytocin is basically secreted by the paraventricular nucleus of hypothalamus and the supraoptic nucleus. The main quantity is released by the paraventricular nucleus. There is small content is also secreted by the supraoptic nucleus, and this is transported from hypothalamus to the posterior pituitary through the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. So in this, we have two important parts: the paraventricular nucleus and the supraoptic nucleus, which are responsible for the secretion of oxytocin. Posterior pituitary part basically have two hormones, two important hormones. The first one was the antidiuretic hormone. We also call it vasopressin. Antidiuretic hormone means there is a condition which is called diuresis. Means secretion, excess secretion of water through the excretory system. This condition is called diuresis. So that hormone basically works against that mechanism. Basically, it absorbs the water content. This antidiuretic hormone, and the second one is the oxytocin. Now come to the actions of oxytocin. Broadly, we can divide the actions of oxytocin into two broad categories. The first one is the action in females, and second one is the action in males. In females, it is responsible for the formation of mammary gland, and the second one is the milk ejection reflex. It also responsible for the milk ejection. In case of males, basically it facilitates release of sperm into urethra by causing contraction of smooth muscles in reproductive tract. Basically, it increases the motility of the sperm. Now come to the action in females. So action of oxytocin in mammary gland. So it causes ejection of milk from the mammary gland. Ducts of the mammary glands are lined by the myoepithelial cells. So oxytocin causes contraction of the myoepithelial cells and flow of milk from the alveoli of these mammary glands to the exterior through duct system. So basically, this is responsible for the ejection of milk from the mammary gland. This is a specific reflex. We call it milk ejection reflex or milk letdown reflex. This process of milk ejection from the mammary gland, we are calling it milk ejection reflex or the milk letdown reflex, which is the neuroendocrine reflex. It involves both nervous and endocrine system. Now come to the milk ejection reflex or the milk letdown reflex. When infant sucks mother's nipple, the impulse discharge from touch receptors are carried by the somatic afferent nerve fiber to the paraventricular nuclei and the supraoptic nuclei of the hypothalamus. In this image, we can see that due to the stimulation of receptors and nipples, the sensory signals reaches to the supraoptic nuclei or the paraventricular nuclei of the hypothalamus, and then it causes the release of oxytocin through the posterior part of the pituitary gland. And this oxytocin further causes contraction of myoepithelial cells for milk ejection, and this process continues. Hypothalamus sends impulses to the posterior pituitary through hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract by efferent impulses, which causes release of oxytocin into the blood, and finally it causes contraction of myoepithelial cells, which leads to the ejection of milk from mammary gland. Now come to the action on uterus. During feedback mechanisms, we studied about the positive feedback mechanism. So this parturition reflex comes under the category of positive feedback mechanisms. which is initiated by the oxytocin. So towards the time when the head of the matured fetus presses on the uterine cervix, the cervical distension sends signal to the posterior pituitary to release oxytocin. So basically, oxytocin is causing uh, uh, uterine contraction, and this uterine contraction again causing the more release of oxytocin, which is responsible for the further contraction of the myometrium or the uterine contractions till the baby is delivered. So this is an example of positive feedback mechanism. Contraction of uterus further pushes the fetus into the cervix, and cervical distension further increases oxytocin, which releases that promotes uterine contraction. And this cycle is continues till the baby is delivered.